got wrong and what I got right in 2025. What I try to do is always give just good advice based on what I'm seeing. I expected interest rates to be a little bit lower than what they are. I expected 2025 to be a year of a lot more uncertainty. There are areas of the country that is definitely happening. Down south, out west, prices of homes are coming down. So there's two ways to make a house more affordable. You lower the price or you lower the interest rate. Welcome back to a new episode of Moving Sucks. I am Seth, your host, and I wanted to talk today about what I got wrong and what I got right in 2025. Talk a little bit about 2026 and what I think that lies ahead, but wanted to just talk a little bit about 2025 in terms of just reflecting on the year. It's our economics is hard to predict. Housing is very hard to predict. And I always say that economists can be right 20% of the time and win a, Nobel Prize. So the thing we call an economy that humans have built is so vast and so large that it's more complicated than anyone really believes. What you basically have to focus on is trends, what you're seeing. The thing about real estate and most economics is that it's local. It's not national, it's not regional, it's not continental. It's very local to your area, your market, your socioeconomic area, demographics, whatever. So what I try to do is always give just good advice based on what I'm seeing. One of the nice things about the Northeast is that we get to kind of go last in terms of seeing big swings up and down. The Northeast is just more established, for obvious reasons. And just because is where most of the population was for the first 2 centuries of our population growth was for the first 2 centuries of this country. Got lots of good schools, what they call meds and eds. We got a lot of good hospitals. So people stay here for healthcare. They stay close because this is where their doctors are. They a lot of educational institutions that people get jobs locally. Generally, income is a little higher here, but there's also not as much speculative building. So we don't see the big swings up, and then we don't see the big swings down. So the things that I got right and what I got wrong, it's not going to be terribly shocking. I'm going to first say what I got wrong. I expected interest rates to be a little bit lower than what they are. I expected 2025 to be a year of a lot more uncertainty. I think there is a lot of uncertainty depending on how much you consume politics and social media and everything like that. But I expected there to be a little bit more of a softening in interest rates, because usually what softening of interest rates is it means that they're trying to encourage spending, borrowing money, that type of thing. But there has been a very stubborn metric called inflation at the top that has kept interest rates high. So if you inflation is essentially the speed of money. If the market is really overheated and there's just so much money going out there, there's so much money swirling around, the value of your dollar becomes less. And inflation has been higher from COVID. And so the Fed has really had to deal with, the inflation is keeping rates high because we want to slow down money. But then also there's a lot of uncertainty in the market. And so they've wanted to lower them as well. So there's people in two camps, really just keep them high or lower them. And our president is definitely in lowering rates. There's a lot of people in that camp. I see both sides. I think the Fed is largely stuck. I thought there would be more easing of inflation than we've seen, and that would have brought down rates. So that's one thing that I think I got wrong. I expected us to be in the mid 5s. And we are still in the 6s. So we are not in the 7s, though. I was putting people under contract at 7.8, 7.7, 7.5 in 2023. That's not the case anymore. They're firmly in the 6s and generally below 6.5. But we have not been able to get below that 5% mark. Um, in uh, the affordability aspect of things, uh, with interest rates going without interest rates going down, I thought homes would become a little bit more affordable. Now, there are areas of the country that is definitely happening. Down south, out west, rates are prices of homes are coming down. So there's two ways to make a house more affordable: you lower the price, or you lower the interest rate. And in the case of out there, interest rates are static mostly across the country. But if pricing is coming down, affordability is easing. In the Northeast, that has not really occurred. We are still putting a ton of people under contract. It's just that people have to be more intentional with their planning. But I expected a little bit of a decrease in not home pricing, but just at least like a leveling off. In the Philadelphia area, if it is priced right and it doesn't smell like a foot and it's in a good area, like a good school district, like it's going to sell over a weekend still. So I always knew that there would be a dynamic where, because we didn't build a lot of houses, there's still so many people who want to live here and there's so much demand. But that was one aspect. So those two things kind of go hand in hand. What I got right, though, like I just said, was keeping inventory. I knew inventory would continue to be tight. I did not think there would be this mass glut of people coming to market. There's just too many factors. As any market kind of slows, or at least stops being what it was like in 2022, which was really, really frothy and active, people just don't move. I mean, there's no reason for them to move. But now you've got people with low rates, and then you have affordability, which doesn't allow people to purchase. So I knew that was going to continue. I just didn't. But like I said, with interest rates and everything like that, I did get that part wrong. What I also got right is that now in this market, housing has become much more hyper local. Like, I live in a township that has a certain school district, and the township next to me has a different school district. Like, those markets are different. You have to price that house differently. You have to have a different conversation. It's a different type of buyer. The biggest mistake people can make is read national headlines and assign it to their neighborhood. You need to talk to somebody local. You need to have somebody who understands the market, understand who your ideal buyer is. Can't tell you how many listing appointments I go to and I'm competing for it, and people are like, yeah, or I say, hey, has anyone told you like who your ideal buyer is? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, this is sales. Like, we need to target the person we're trying to attract here. It's going to come down to the pricing. It's going to come down to the marketing. It's going to come down to the loan programs that we're willing to accept. It's going to come down to the conversations that I have with the buyer's agent to empower them to go back to the buyer, to let them know about the things that are really going to be important to them. It is very, very important that you understand who your ideal buyer is. So a buyer in the middle of Philadelphia City versus one in Gladwin, which is like a top 25 wealthiest towns in the country. Those are two different buyers. You have to understand that your markets aren't the same. So I think that is something that a lot of people who are just generally looking at the market, or they see a house that, they talk to the guy at the water cooler at work and their house sold in a minute. But they don't live in as nice of an area. This person doesn't live in a nice of an area. They're like thinking, oh, the market's so crazy. But it's like, no, not where you live. Or the opposite, where they live, it's crazy. But then they've got a guy at the water cooler saying it took 50 days to sell their house. And I'm like, oh, I thought everything was slowing down. It's like, oh, no. Here it's frothy. So hyper local real estate analysis is super important. You cannot get a good idea of what your market is doing if you are just looking at national headlines or talking anecdotally to somebody at a soccer game. And then the last thing is that I definitely got right is that education is going to matter, and still in all perpetuity will matter to empower these buyers. If you are looking for a house, getting out way ahead of things has been a silver bullet for our clients. I cannot tell you how many times I have had people say, yeah, well, we're not ready yet. I'm like, yeah, but let's just get like a preliminary call. This is not about selling you a house before you're ready. This is about getting you a plan so you're ready quicker. And I even had a client just recently sending me Justin Timberlake memes saying it's going to be May. like we're not buying till May. And we went out and saw 4 houses. We found the one we wanted, and we just bought it, and we scooped it in the middle of like the holiday season. Nobody was out looking. Strategically, super smart. It's exactly where they want to be. House is a forever home. It's perfect. And that would have never happened if I hadn't been able to just tell them, like, listen, let's just get out ahead of the process. And there's a direct relationship between the people that say that they're not ready and the people who haven't talked to anybody about being ready. There is an enormous amount of work that sometimes needs to be done to get you ready to buy. But there's a lot of times when oh, wow, I thought that I would need to X. I thought I'd need to sell my house before. Oh, I thought I would need to get that raise before I'd have enough, money. I thought I needed to do this. Oh, I thought I needed to have a certain amount of months of income at this new job. And like getting that discovery process out in the open and then creating a plan. We work with people 1, 2, even 3 years out. Sometimes there's credit problems. Sometimes there's income problems. Sometimes people are waiting for, unfortunately, someone to pass, or they need an inheritance, or they're getting a gift from their parents, but they need to wait till January because of the taxes. Like there's a million different things, and it is impossible to sell a home. You just can't do it until somebody's truly ready. That's what we specialize in. The people in all markets across the country that are the most prepared and getting educated on exactly how to do this well are the people that are going to be empowered to make good decisions when they get in there. They're going to be more mentally and financially prepared to service that mortgage and build a life of prosperity. So 2026, I think, is going to be my prediction. And I might do like a prediction episode with Jen later this month, but I think this is going to be the year where we're going to have a pretty, I think, tumultuous political scene with the midterms. There's going to be a lot of, I think, there's a lot of retirement in Congress, a lot of upheaval. And I think that's going to maybe people pump the brakes, and companies. We're seeing a little bit of softening in the job rates and unemployment. But that's very sector specific. So like pharmaceuticals, I would be really nervous. Like I know there's a pharmaceutical plant down the street, company called Merck. And, they're doing like an optimization plan, which is just a fancy way of saying like retooling and doing more with less. But pharmaceutical is such a huge sector, though. Like if you're in certain parts, like it's fine, but then or a certain company. But it's just an example of how like there's going to be companies looking at their balance sheet at the end of 2025. There's going to be households looking at their balance sheet. Hopefully you have some kind of, budgeting sheet for your house. And they're going to I think there's going to be a little bit of a pullback. I don't foresee some massive crash, although there are parts of the country that are definitely crashing. And like the Sun Belt out west, there are certain markets that are just getting crushed. Like everyone's down 30%. I know somebody who just bought a house in Sarasota. His house, I think they bought it for, $580, and it's only worth $520-ish, $525-ish. And he bought it in May. So there are markets where the home values are already declining considerably. In Philly, I don't see that happening. There's just not enough houses and there's too much demand. So usually that old economic principle will keep people afloat. But I will probably, like I said, I will probably do a predictions episode later this month. I have to dig into some of the data, and real estate data is tragically out of date. It's always like 60 to 90 days behind. So, but that's all I got for you. So I'm not perfect. You can always quote Seth anything. But the smartest people in the world get this wrong 80% of the time. So I feel like I'm on the right track. So hope everyone is well. If anybody has any questions about their market, about data, I have an app that's unattached to the real estate industry. Is just raw data of what's going on in your housing market anywhere, any zip code in the country. I am more than happy to hop on a call, show you a map, get you coached up, and let's make 2026 a great year. Be well. See you.